Hello Internet, hello War of the Visions fans, I'm Jockey Fox, and today we're going to be talking about what we've got coming in the future, roughly as a part of the JP 4th anniversary. Now we're not quite at our 4th anniversary yet, which is going to happen in April, but we're still going to be getting a lot of the benefits of the JP anniversary as well, so as far as I understand it, this is going to be kind of like a double anniversary. And before I get too far into the video, it is the second day of the month. We have had our official update. So if you haven't started doing this already, I highly encourage you to just go ahead and do it. You probably have like all the skip stuff required to do it, pretty much the way that I'm going to be doing it today. Just want to check to see which ones I've unlocked up to level 10, and if I've unlocked it up to level 10, then I am going to do 10 runs. And I'm just going to do this with every one. This is something to be doing every month, just because the resources here are pretty great. So you really don't want to be missing out on this if you're a newer player and you weren't super familiar with this. It's going to hurt getting into this system because you're going to have to level up at least a number of MR units to be able to really be able to do this. But over time, over a couple of months at least, maybe over even longer, you're going to, through doing this process I'm showing you right now, make all of those resources back and then some. This is especially easy to do for Dark, so I'm expecting all of you to have cleared up to Dark 10 and to have a Dark team ready for this. Before we get into the video today though, I definitely want to give a shout out to my guild Silkus. In this most recent guild, Limited Guild Battle Supremacy, not only were we undefeated in all of our matches, we were also number 1 at the end of the competition. And that's not always a given when you're undefeated in something like this, because, you know, you're being scored for each fight. There was a point to which we were second place to a team that was doing very well as well. They had lost a match at that point. I think they had lost their match to us. That might have been the only one. But they still ended up in number 1 just because they were doing very well themselves. But we took it all. And because of the way the guild supremacy works, because the pods are exceptionally small, chances are pretty good that your guild did pretty well too. With that to be happy about, let's move on into the video in which we are going to discuss some things that are coming in our near future. The kind of updates that will be happening before the end of the year. So let's just jump right into that. Let's get into the news. First bit of news to cover is going to be a new VC type. These are called Hollow VCs. Presumably they're going to be shiny. They're going to introduce kind of a new power level into the game in that I don't think it's really raising any of the parameters that we expect from a vision card. It's just adding another layer. And that layer is going to be that certain vision cards are going to perform better and have additional party bonuses. A whole nother layer of bonus in certain event types. So we'll talk a little bit about what this is going to look like a bit later, but for right now, that's what you need to know. And we're going to be getting our first Hollow VC with Final Fantasy IX, which is going to be the collaboration coming after 8. Part of the anniversary, probably something that we will get maybe late November. We're getting 3 units with this. Our free unit is going to be another free Earth unit, another free Earth Mage, 90 cost, Garnet. She's going to be a summoner though, and we will take a look at her kit in just a little bit. Also, maybe briefly talk about Melnia, because we're finally getting her for global this week. And then for Dark, which I can't show you the full kit for Vivi yet because it is not released. He is not released. They are not released. However Vivi identifies, has not been released on JP yet, but this is going to be a Dark type unit with re-raise protection. In the same way that Zidane, who is already available in JP, we can look at his kit later, is going to have courage protection and function in wind. So it could be potentially a really good partner for Alaya the Alabaster. We'll have to kind of see how that shakes out over time, I guess. And then there's going to be a Holo VC, at least in the first week. There's probably going to be a Holo VC in the second week. But this Holo VC is for story, so I feel like story is the type of content that, while there may be some players out there who have serious issues with story, or maybe there's some players who are really into hunting like super challenging story content like nightmare quests that just want a little bit of an edge, this is going to do additional critical damage in story quests for the characters that it already works for. So it's not for everybody necessarily, this is still job based. Which is a little unfortunate. I was hoping it was going to be a little bit broader of a boost, and maybe even a bigger boost, maybe multiple boosts. Unfortunately, with this new power level, also seems that it's going to take twice the cost of pity. So this is now going to be a 10 pull pity instead of a 5 pull pity, which is not popular in terms of news that has come out of the JP side of this game. Just having to spend more on our vision cards in the future isn't something that anyone is particularly excited about. We are going to be getting a young character story event, so this is going to be middle-aged or youthful adult Elda, Sur-O, Helena, etc. We're also going to be seeing kiddo versions of people like Glaciella and Stern and Mont, as well as like an adult Moraga, like a young man Moraga kind of thing. There's also going to be a free Holo VC, if I understood this correctly, coming with that event. No real details on what that's going to be, what it will do, what type of content it will benefit, but it is probably coming alongside a 100 cost light Helena. So, finally getting a light Helena. Looks like she's probably going to be pretty powerful. Maybe the next Alaya the Alabaster in terms of like power level. Maybe. Helena is kind of a fan favorite place to place a lot of power in this game, I would say. So I hope she's good. Another thing that we're going to be getting probably in the next month is a challenge event with Snake Moraga. So if you remember Snake Moraga from part 1 of the story, we're going to be fighting a much more intimidating version of that. I think this is going to be power scaled somewhere along the lines of the Realm Scourge fight, which is way more powerful than Snake Moraga has any right to be, but you know what? I welcome the challenge. One thing that I will say about that I'm enjoying a lot more in Final Fantasy Ever Crisis is the ability to do highly challenging single-player content. I think that's quite fun, and there just isn't always enough of that for War of the Visions, so it's kind of nice to see some of that coming on the horizon. Also, something that we've kind of expected or hoped for a long time on the horizon, ever since we saw Citra, Veritas of the Light being summoned by Jaden once, and then a second time. They did it in Season 2 as well. So 2 seasons back to back with no hint of the Veritas or how it was known. Well, finally, we might be getting some answers to that. There might be some story coming with this maybe that will answer some of those questions. But according to the live stream, all 8 Veritas will be added to the game. It doesn't look like these units have costs. It doesn't look like these units are going to be gacha units. So maybe this is something more along the lines of the selection quest. This also means that we're going to be seeing Veritas that we never got to see in FFB, or at least not really. Veritas of the Frost, I believe, made a bit of a cameo in FFB, but it was really just Reagan in that armor, as opposed to actually Gilgamesh in that armor, which does mean that we're getting a new form of Gilgamesh, which will likely be powerful than the what would be chronologically the newer form of Gilgamesh, the one that we have in War of the Divisions. So this would be Gilgamesh from the past, and probably more powerful. But hey, power creep be what it be. For the Veritas, we're going to be starting with Veritas of the Heavens, Sid. So Sid is going to be a wind spear unit, definitely pierce based. And then the other units that we got teased alongside this are Ignacio, who's going to be a fire axe wielder, Folka, who is going to be a water staff master, and Sigurd, who is going to be earth, but well, Sigurd uses a whip and a shield, and neither of those are really weapon types in this game, so no idea what they're doing with Sigurd. But at the same time, this is kind of what happened with Darkfina. She was also a whip character in FFB, and they just turned her whip into a rod. So, I don't know. Maybe they turned Sigurd's little pseudo demon wall shield into a mace? Maybe Sigurd is a physical base character. I don't have any clue whatsoever. But if you were concerned that Hollow VCs are going to bring kind of an unstoppable whaley level of power to this game that you won't be able to keep up with, that you won't be able to pity for, well, don't worry, because Hollow VCs, it seems, will bring a wave of old VC awakening, perhaps to Hollow level or something similar to it. Not really sure what this is because we haven't seen any awakenings yet, but it was indicated a number of times during the JP livestream that older VCs will be upgradable in some way in the future. Finally, there's one of the upgrades that I'm maybe most excited for. One of the ones that I think is going to streamline the game the most, and one that I'm excited to get this stuff set up and get it right and get it done. Finally, in a way that it's never felt right to me, but trust stones now no longer exist as such. They will no longer be assigned to trust masters. You will put them directly on your characters. And this is coming with a host of other changes. So, trust runes will no longer be exclusive, they will now be shareable. So, you could have a set of 6 trust runes that are perfect for evasion. You could make an evasion set. And you could put that same set on every one of your evasion characters simultaneously. You could potentially outfit an entire team with as little as 6 trust runes. And in addition to some other benefits that we're going to be getting, like the ability to actually pick the passives, plus all of the QOLs that we've got to make the items to level these up and get these in the first place. I mean, it's going to be super easy to get tons of pinks, and then you just assign their passives and level them up and you're done. There really is almost no RNG to this system anymore. There's no reason to need hundreds of different trust runes. There's no need to roll and roll and roll and roll and re-roll. So it's taken them, I don't know, it's been over a year now, I think. It's taken them a long time to get the trust rune system into a place where it really feels like it'll be fun to interact with instead of tedious and boring. And better late than never. I'm excited for it. And for all those people who've been ignoring trust runes, even as I've said, hey, to all those people who've been ignoring trust runes, I just made it better. Maybe you might want to do it now. This actually genuinely fixes basically the last of the problems. This is now going to be a great system. And just a lightning round of things that were shared towards the end on a similar lightning round of things that will be updated at some point in the future, but maybe are 2 or even 3 months out at this point. There are going to be ways to get Espers more SP. So right now we're hard capped. it sounds like this is coming through an item. It doesn't sound like they're necessarily raising Esper levels or adding to their boards, but instead perhaps there will be items that will be able to raise their max SP by a little bit, and this should allow us to get some of the abilities that we had to skip because of SP limits in the past. We'll also be able to bulk awaken and limit burst units. Not entirely sure how that's going to work out, but it could be an interesting system for people who need to do this quickly. It's probably going to streamline the starting the game process, and it's probably going to streamline my monthly awakening bursts, so that's cool. I'm not sure that affinity is getting included in this. Unit affinity is probably still a thing into the future, but one thing that's going to be disappearing for sure is Esper resonance. So if you were sick of building resonance with every Esper, with every unit that comes out, if that was annoying to you, then your units are basically already going to have full resonance with every Esper as they come into the game, as you pull them. Just that whole system is being removed from the game, and I didn't hate it, but at the same time, good riddance. It's again streamlining the game for newer players, less that you have to learn and worry about. Awesome. I might be misconstruing this a bit, but it seems like there's going to be somewhat of a auto system or a repeatability system being introduced for raids and multis, so that you don't have to do things that are potentially against TOS. And then finally, as I mentioned before, Trust Rune ability modding, where you can just pick the passives that you want instead of having to go through an annoying and sometimes multi-day process of re-rolling it for just until your eyes are sore and annoyed. So those are all the things that we can look forward to as we're the Visions players moving forward. Probably things that are going to be happening before the end of the year, although some of those things on the last part of that list are going to be happening a little bit later, maybe into January for us on the global side, or even February. It may be January for the JP side on some of those final things. But for most of the stuff that I just said, we should expect to see that by the end of the year. Now, we're also getting Melnia finally, also Melnia's VC. So this is a bit of a crunch week. We are getting two things at once. We're getting 2 weeks at once. So a little bit of Road to Worldwide all over again. However, I don't think this is bad. I'm glad we're finally getting Melnia. I'm glad we're finally getting her card. There's still some other things to release, but this is really the big top-line unit. With the other cards and other units, we're talking about 70 cost units and their cards. These could be easy to release in bulk at the same time. This has always been my opinion. They're also really easy units to throw in alongside other units as they come out, so they're really easy to bulk into other content. But let's take a look at some of the stuff that is come out in Japan as part of Final Fantasy IX. First, we're going to take a look at the Holo VC. Now, I want to be clear, I don't completely understand what I'm looking at here yet. This is my first time looking at the stats of a Holo VC, and I've got to say, like, a lot of this isn't impressive. If it weren't for this whole part down here, would not be impressive at all. And to be fair, I actually, these are probably some of my least favorite jobs, period. I just don't like this VC in general. It does get some cool stuff on it. These aren't bad passives, but like Bow, Lance, I'm glad Bow's finally getting VCs. Don't get me wrong, I've been complaining, I've been saying put Bow on stuff for a while, but Bow, Lance, Dagger, and Mace, look, if you guys saw my elemental tier list, or saw my job-based VC tier list, obviously this stuff is going to help because all of those need help. All of those need more VC variety. So on one hand, that's great. And if you play any of those, good for you. You're finally getting some support from Yumi. But I'm not excited for this in particular. Just saying. But here's the new thing. This seems to be the what we'll call the Holo effect for this. It's just an extra 25% critical damage. which is great. I guess in every story quest that you go into from now on, if you've got this VC equipped, and if you are one of these horrible jobs, you'll get an extra 25% critical damage. Cool beans. I'm not pitying this one. This is a limited VC that can absolutely fucking skip me. Don't care. Maybe I'll be more excited for other Holo VCs in the future. And personally, I think that, like, for this game especially, the Holo VCs that are going to be highest value, the ones that are going to be, like, gold within the community, are going to be the ones that target PvP formats. So you're going to be talking about the guild battle VCs and the arena VCs. Maybe a class match VC even for some of you nerds out there. But, you know, I think really guild battle probably primarily, or maybe the arena, are going to be kind of the big ticket items that the Holo VCs that you definitely want to save for. Or probably, I don't know. I don't know that they're going to be worth it. We'll find out. It is extra power, and every bit of extra power helps, but whatever. This is our free unit Garnet. Her TMR just isn't doing it for me. Reduce magical damage taken 10% for self on master ability. That's pretty cool. I don't know if that's dispellable. I know it's not penetrable. It's not something that magic attack resistance penetration will deal with. But you might be able to dispel it. I'm not entirely sure, because I don't think we've seen that one before. Well, no, it shouldn't be dispellable because it's on a master ability. So that is actually pretty interesting for her, even though it's kind of a small thing. But undispellable, impenetrable magic resistance is a neat idea at the very least. She does have some casting time issues, so it's good that she gets a casting time passive. This passive is really, really good. It is primarily a defensive passive, as you're seeing spirit, AoE resistance, elemental chain resistance. It's going to make her pretty beefy, but it is also giving us that spirit resistance. I would say that this is, while it is a double upgrade, so it's getting a lot of value plugged into it that's not being put elsewhere in her kit, this is a really good way to pack on value onto a unit and make them powerful. So I appreciate that upgrade. I'm not mad at it. She can paralyze, she can protect shell and reduce her own hate. She can get rid of courage. She can dispel, protect, and shell for allies. That's a pretty neat bonus. I don't think we've seen that together. Definitely seen dispel, protect. I think that's on Edward, but protect and shell, that's pretty neat. Especially because we've seen a lot of this for, like, with Alaya, we saw dispel re-raise in this way. But I think that, especially within this collaboration, where you have units that can protect or turn off the ability to dispel courage or re-raise, then getting this is a really interesting way to still fuck with those characters, potentially. But also magic and more spirit, so that's not bad. And I really think that this is kind of leaning her into a lot of types of magic resistance. Because we got some spirit on that passive, we got some spirit here on this buff. We've also got that magic resistance that we talked about earlier that's undispellable. We're gonna get... Okay, so I think this is... Which of our espers is this? Decreases spirit penetration. Okay, so what's this additional skill? Okay, so this is kind of like a sequence ability like Ferris. This is going to give her spirit penetration, it's going to heal, and it's going to do some pretty thick damage in a pretty large AoE as well. So good deal on this skill. AoE resistance for an ally, shell, and auto revive for self. So she's going to have auto revive. which is great. Not mad at it. Especially since probably the best way to counter auto revive right now is within lightning. So her counter element, which makes her about as safe of an auto revive unit as you can get outside of maybe running on a dark team with Vivi. And, you know, to be completely honest, while I think it is one of the more hype things, it's not the only thing to talk about with these characters, but one of the more hype things with Vivi and Zidane is that they have the ability to turn off re-raise and courage removal respectively. It's a little wonky the way that they do it, in that they have to apply it to themselves and then hit someone before they hit you, which might be a sequence of events that doesn't always work out in your favor. But we'll see how that works as this collaboration hits JP and people start using these units. But I think Zidane especially is going to be pretty beneficial just because of his potential synergy with Alaya. Let's see. These skills are okay. Finally getting some slash attack penetration though. Although that's not super important for her main kit. And I'm not really seeing any magic attack penetration. Spirit penetration, sure. Was it up here? No, that's just more spirit penetration. So she can get up to 100% spirit penetration with buffs and maybe some selected equipment. She has a single target heal. Poison. That's not a good sub job. They usually aren't. Oh well. Single target guaranteed hit, so she's not going to be great against evasion, but technically she has an answer in her kit. Just not a good one. This is alright, and I think it's especially good for her, maybe, just because of her already having layers of magic resistance. This is going to be yet another one. And then finally, big AoE heal. It's going to dispel all debuffs for allies, so this is going to be similar to... I forget who just got this. I want to say it was like, might have been Resnick that got, it was somebody who has Arithmetician. I don't know. Somebody just got an AoE skill, healing skill, that removes debuffs as well. This is very similar to that, except holy crap, that's a big healing modifier, and all attack resistance 10 for 3 turns, which you know, it's not massive. We haven't seen this on other being applicable to other characters yet, so but if you want to compare it to something, you can compare it to either Celeste's Limit Break or regular Mashari's Limit Break after it was upgraded to kind of get its second generation power. Both of those have 15% all attack resistance, which is stronger than this. However, they only apply to themselves. So this is going to allow you to hit yourself potentially, but also the rest of your team. So you're going to be applying up to 30% cumulative between the three of you, which is potentially way better, but at the same time, it's not as impactful for any of those, and it wasn't game breaking before, so this isn't going to be huge, but it is helpful, and it is helpful against, I don't know, anything but like an attack type penetration team. So this might be at its least effective against certain slash teams, as they have the best penetration, maybe certain magic teams. But at the same time, she also is well suited to deal with those magic teams. So maybe that's not the biggest issue. And then finally, looking at Zidane. So two jump, pretty cool. Good for his maneuverability on the field. I like the stat line here, alright. 3 times 35% damage reduction. 35% isn't a lot, but 3 times, a 3 times shield on an accessory TMR is pretty good. It's not the best. I'm not super excited. It does remind me of something like Black Witch Helena's TMR, and that's pretty old at this point, which also gave agility. This gives accuracy. Accuracy is important for character. Like, if you have a character who is borderline accurate, who just needs that extra push and doesn't have an accuracy buff, this could be a good way to supplement that in. And because of that, I will say that this is actually potentially a good TMR, but it's a little bit niche. Certainly better than Garnet's, but it's not my favorite. I also think that, especially compared to Garnet, having Dagger as a job is a bit unfortunate. It is what it is. We do have the ability to get 48% attack in addition to 40 slash and defense penetration via passives. Also, there's an agility passive here, which you might run instead of one of those. But I think that those are probably the three most important. This one is helpful situationally, but I'm not necessarily sure the hate is important here. But having 4 move and 2 jump would make you really maneuverable, which is going to be helpful for him. The ability to 70% counter slash and strike damage with a 30% damage reduction is quite important, especially right now. Slash being the most common damage type, and strike being potentially the most powerful damage type. Of course, this guy is going to be countering Earth a lot more so than Lightning. So you're going to be looking at, like, maybe the sweet spot here is people like Urel and King Bradley. Although, maybe not him. Nope. This does get around penetrations. This is a great way to deal with penetrations. Cool. Okay. So we have a steal ability, which is going to increase his agility. Cool. Critical damage, single target, wind attack, and slash penetration. So that's going to potentially get him up to 100% slash attack resistance penetration with proper equipment. You're going to need an extra 20% coming from somewhere. Critical damage, single target resistance for allies is pretty good. Let's see, we can break a physical barrier. There's an additional attack. We'll see what that does. Decreases healing power. And another skill that has not been translated. That's unfortunate. Okay, so this is going to be... Holy shit. This has so much range and so much range height that like fucking wotv calc can't even display how much range and range height this follow-up skill has. It's ridiculous. But this is going to be a follow-up skill, which I believe is just going to be some additional damage that's going to come through. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe this... I believe this is the skill... No. Okay, I'm not sure what this does, honestly. This one, since it's upon hit for self, I'm going to assume that this is the Courage Protector. This will remove Courage removal or turn off seal Courage removal. But it's also entirely possible that it's this one too. No matter which one of these it is, though, you're not giving it to your allies. Although, if it is this one, somehow, you might be able to hit multiple units with it. Single target resistance breaker is pretty cool, but I'm not sure that this is an amazing attack for job level 25. And we have Courage in the kit, magical damage reduction, restore AP, and whatever that was. Confusion, Restore AP. I don't understand. It doesn't seem to target anyone but yourself, so how can it do things for allies? I guess it targets both. I guess it targets an ally somewhere, although the range isn't indicated. Chance to apply instant death by 200% for self. Does he have an instant death skill though? Does that just give him instant death? I'm not sure. Not sure. That could be interesting if people aren't building against it, and it's such a niche thing that maybe people aren't. That could be cool, depending on the way that actually translates. I think probably instead of using a passive, this is probably the way that you want to give him additional movement. Maybe. There is some benefit to him not having to cast a buff to do that, but the additional agility here is also pretty cool. Attack, defense, and protect isn't bad either. I think maybe this is his better job though. Gives him some healing. This is an interesting skill. I don't know. They're both alright. And then finally we get the limit burst. 200% chance physical damage. Is that another follow-up hit? Or is it just gonna, I guess it just increases his physical damage for 20% for 3 turns. Fine. 200% mod after increasing physical damage by 20%. So it's what, like basically a 240% mod, basically, in effect, because of that. And then decreases his AP consumption by 30% for 3 turns. Unfortunately, after the skill, so it's not going to reduce the 43 AP cost here, but that's not super high for an LB. It is a little on the higher end, but it's not like astronomical or anything. And then again, the idea that we have on VB is that we're going to be getting a staff-wielding Dark Mage, 100 cost, with the ability to protect re-raise, in addition to just looking like a good damage dealer, looking like he's going to be an interesting character, and I'll have more details on him when more details are available, but for now, this was our Future Visions video. I hope you feel a little bit more prepared for the stuff that's going to be coming with the JP Anniversary, because, man, I watched videos about this a couple of times, and I had to take notes before I felt like I understood what was going on here. It's a lot. It's a real fire hose, and some people will be overwhelmed by that, but personally, I'm just glad that there's so much cool stuff to talk about. Not only because I make content and I'm happy to have good reasons for you to sit and watch a video for an extended period of time. Helps the channel. Also, you know what else helps the channel? Liking, subscribing, leaving a comment, and clicking that link in the description. All of those things are going to help me out, and that final thing, clicking the link in the description, will give you access to the rest of the Jackie Fox Extended Universe, including Halloween episode that I just put out on a couple of my other channels, some podcasts, even books. Do you read? If you like science fiction or realistic fiction, either way, I write both, so check out my books. Just do all of the things. Do it all. And I hope you're excited for what's to come, both for the channel, for the whole Jackie Fox Extended Universe, but also for War of the Visions, and even for Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, which I also cover on this channel. If you're into any of that stuff, once again, like and subscribe. and I'll see you in the next one.